Okay, this is like take 6, because every single time I try to do this, I find something else wrong. But it means that by the time I upload this, finally, everything's going to be working really hella well. So I did made pretty big changes to the scripts, and I added that moving platform, and I changed some spawn setting stuff. So I've done a few things, and I thought I'd probably should upload a video and just show it all so that you could see how to do everything. So here we have the spawns. We got a new spawn script. Again, all the scripts will still correlate. You can just drag and drop them. They should, as long as you replace them, they'll carry over. But this one here has spawn settings, checkpoint can be reset, and then it also says click to set as the initial spawn, check and then uncheck to avoid errors. So what that means is right now, if I simply hit start, my spawn is actually set to 1 down here, which is this guy. If I want this one to be my active spawn, I could go to control panel and drag and drop that in there. Or I could have, in the old one, clicked active right here, which is now grayed out along with these other options, and then gone to this one over here and clicked unactive. They were declicked active, but now it's a lot easier because in that sense you would have had to like navigate all the way over to each one of your various spawn points or whatever. In this one, all you have to do is hit active, unactive like that. Just real quick. Doesn't have, I mean, you could leave it there as long as it's unchecked before you starting, and bam. I don't know why it's all squashed looking like that. That is kind of funky. Weird. So that's that. Then the next option is these enemy scripts. You have the can fly can walk, but now is stationary is grayed out. If you uncheck this, that will be checked. If you check either of these, that will stay unchecked. So then, just kind of straightforward. The scripts now execute in edit mode as well. Part of them do, not all of them. So they do have some functions that will change and stuff. Hey, look, a news dump. Go here. We got switch script. If you are set to 0, this won't do anything on to teleporters, but to other things like this, dildo here and the moving platforms and stuff like that, those will still work. So 0 works on certain things, but it doesn't work on certain objects. And then use timer is now grayed out. You cannot click that. Instead, if you drag the timer up, it will check, and if you have the timer at 0, it will uncheck. Gates are very similar, have the channels, everything added there. States, if you want it to, if you have 3 states, it's up right now, so you would go down, that would be 1, up, and then down, that would be 2, up, and then down, that would be 3. So that would count up states each time it does it, and then it would reset at 0. That way, if you have like a fan or something like that, that has 3 different states, all we have to do is show on the skate script. Then the signpost guy, he has this information. Everything else is grayed out. Goal script, grayed out, just says no editable scripts. Platforms, they now have a grayed out wheel break, and respawn does not do anything. Now, if you even if you give this time, like 0.0001, it will be enough to give it wheel break. So, time to break, anything over 1 or anything over 0 will give it automatic the checking that break. And if that's checked, this is checked as well, checkable as well. And if you go down, they both uncheck. So kind of cool. Everything else is grayed out except freeze. Freeze means if it doesn't have an animation and you give it the tag platform and the platform script because you want it to do everything that a platform does, then you would want to check freeze so that it does not change the animation. Also notice that these are a little bit different. They got these weird patterns on them. That's because I have updated the platform script. So that's what I'm going to show you next. I don't know why this is all squished like this. This is very strange. Oh, there we go. Scale got weird. So the platforms, you no longer can collide with them the same way you would. Instead, if you want to collide with the side with them, I would recommend adding a wall. The only reason I'm able to jump twice is because I was jumping off of this and then colliding with this back here. So if I move this aside, I won't do that. But even then, cannot do. But I got it there because I got to the top. But most of the time, it doesn't really work that way. And again, it's because this thing's here. But what this really does is makes it so that the platforms won't give you multiple jumps inside of them like this. So you can hear how much I'm jumping. You can't hit the bottom of them anymore to, like, you know, sneak around the top and shit. So it still has some weaknesses like gear. But again, if you set it up properly, it should eliminate that. Now, this also helps with tighter spaces because you can jump up from the bottom now. What this allows you to do is this right here. Normally, you'd hit the bottom here. You would not be able to land on this second platform, but now you can. So I recommend not having it like this. I recommend having a wall, and then on top of the wall having your platform. That would be the best option if you want it to be completely solid, because then the platform's script won't be triggering the wall's collision like it is right there. See, it's just tall enough that basically once you get to about here, and then yeah, see, it pulls me right up. So there's a percentage of it that will allow you to go up. That's not enough, but neither is that. That is. It's about the length of his shoe into the collision box that he can get past, you know, kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. Oh, I hit the teleporter. But yeah, so that's that. So I'm going to end this, and I'm actually going to check this as my, check this as my new set active. I'm going to go here. This is new teleporter script. You have these options. Does it send the player? So you check yes if you want it to be able to send the player. And then you choose what channel it sends on. If you have this option chosen, random range, this becomes the minimum, and this is the maximum. Otherwise, this is the only channel you would send on. The receiving properties down here has can receive. If you click this, it will allow you to teleport to this. But remember, for every receiving channel, there's only one receiving teleporter. There's like a list of them, so it's basically registering itself as that by clicking this. What that also means is this will not send to anything if there's nothing registered on the other side. It just won't work. And if you have a range of them and even one of them is missing, it will also not work. So just make sure you have every range, every teleporter you're referencing has something to point to. Otherwise, it will just give you an error down here and the teleporter will shut down. It will not crash your game though, so that's good. Down here we have always active. Now this is only effective if you have can send. See, if you're receiving, you're just a registered position, so you're just teleporting to that position, like this guy up here. This guy's a receive. It can't do anything, and all you can do is go to it. Regardless of whether I've always active or not, you'll still go to it. But for senders, if it's not always active, then you have to press a button. Like this one right here has switch channel 1, but it's not always active. That's because this channel right here, 1, causes it to turn on. Which reminds me, I should probably turn this to 2 for a later thing I'm going to show you before I forget about that. And perhaps, yeah, that's fine. So, yeah, makes sense. Now, for the receiving end, the last thing I wanted to mention was that if you have always active checked off, it won't have the white particle effects of the standard active teleporter. And so I do recommend just having it be always active if you want it to have those. Now, if they're on the same channel, switch channel, so this is on 1 as well, then as soon as I turn this switch on, both of their active particles will turn on. So it's up to you what you do with that. So just to show you what that looks like, and then I will move on to the moving platform. So that turned it on. There we go. So this is our moving platform. Just hangs out next to its starting post, and when you step on it, it moves from one post to the other post. Right now, it does not have a return return active, so I'm going to click on this moving platform prefab right here, and this is its menu, which is a pretty daunting menu. Probably the biggest one of them all. And then I'm just going to hit make return trip. Now it's making return trip. It will continue on round trips. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to go to the scene here, turn back on, maximize on play, and I'm going to make this one our active spawn point. So this is a very interesting one. It's got a little bit of a setup that you have to do, but it's not too complicated. So when you first do it, or when you first grab the prefab, you're just going to drag it like this, and you can see it comes with these two posts. Exactly what you just saw. I hadn't really done anything with that one either. To drag it, I recommend using that tool up there rather than any of the other ones, just because it clicks on these points a lot easier. And then you're going to want to select these icons. The green icon is for the starting position, the red icon is for the ending position. The reason I recommend that is because if you clicked on the actual item, you see it first selects my prefab, just like it does with these, but then the second time you click it, it grabs a piece as opposed to grabbing the whole thing. These aren't actually parented under this either. These are using an active script to follow it. So as soon as the editor's done, these will disappear and they will no longer be able to follow it. So there's that. So you have these options up here at the top, off until ridden and off until switched on. Both of these do work, so if I have just off until switched on, this will stay off until I turn that on. And I'm going to make them return trip because I like the return trip so we can see it come back. And then off until ridden, you already saw, but if we have both of them checked, it will only work if you have both. And I'll show you it without me, I should have stepped on it first, but whatever. There you go, so you can't do anything. Touch this, now it works. So pretty straightforward. Those are available, if you uncheck both of them, it will just automatically work. So I'm going to check this back to here. You can adjust the speed here. It goes up to 20, I believe. No, 100 goes very high. Not that you'd want to go that high. I think about 7 seems to be pretty good most of the time. This next option is return on call. So you see this channel here is 2. So I'm going to go to return on call, and I'm going to channel listen. It listens for us 2. This will allow the platform at any point to return to start. So I'll show you it once I'm going to activate it. See it's starting to go up. I'm going to hit return to start, and bam, now we'll go to start. It won't return at all. Now, if I allow this lever here to turn back off, you can see it will return back to its original path or its original destination it was coming from. If you have multiple points, it will actually come all the way back from any of those points, and I'll show you that for sure. So here is the most simple setup for your floating platform. Now, there's a more advanced part right here. This is for use in editor mode, which it only means it works in this mode. If you're playing the game, it will not work. You have these two options, add stop and delete stop, and you can see it doesn't do anything. To have these work, you need to have managed stops. And then you can click add stop, and you can see it created this one stop right here. Has a little number on it, so keep that in mind when you grab it, because it will try to grab the number as opposed to grabbing the icon. So I'll try to click up in the top point of this eyeball, and then you can move it wherever you want. So if I have this go right back here or something, I'm going to click back on here again. You can click on either of these icons and it will immediately select the prefab instead of selecting some other part of it, which I find very useful. The reason you don't leave this checked. It says right here you want to manage stops. Click checklist to add or delete stops. You want to uncheck this before you're done. If you play the game with this checked, I'll show you what happens. I'll just play the game, and I won't even get on it or anything. I'll just do this, and now there's a second. There should be like a second one or something like that. So basically, it freaks out. It does not like it. So what you want to do is you want to do stops. You want to click add a stop. Put your stop, let's say, up here. Add another stop, say over here. And then check that. Now, it'll go to each of those points. Right now I have them visible so you can kind of visually see everything working. In the actual final version, which all I have to do is enable something, it will actually, I'm checking make return trip right now, it will actually have those become invisible just like the other buttons do. So you can see it's going all the way back to 2 now, then over to 1. And because it's on round trip, it will keep going. And again, if I have this button here, oh, can't turn it off, and I don't know if it's actually selected. Make turn call 2, because this is the new, I just reverted the prevab. When you hit revert, it resets everything back to default. Hit that, hit that. I don't think actually we even need the lever, but hit that, and now you can see it goes right back to start. And if I'm able to hit this again, which looks like it's unchecked, can turn off, it will return not to 2 where it just came from, but back to 1. Bam, now it's back to 1. Restarts. So that's kind of interesting. You know, you can basically it's a reset loop. The reason that's kind of cool is if you had a loop like a map where you have to go around and collect stuff, and at a certain point, you know, you've gone around, and missed some things, and finally you get the last thing, but it's the beginning of the loop. Maybe there's a kill switch somewhere or something like that. You can click and return. That would be kind of cool. But those are all available for you. If you click on this and then you hit manage, you can also hit delete stop and then delete stop, and it will delete these stops. You can see right here in the stops you have starting post and goal post. I add stop, and then click that right there. It has starting stop goal post. Delete stop deletes it. And the reason it clicks away, I actually find that a useful thing, is if you add a stop, bam, you have the stop here. It allows you just to grab it. It's already in your hand. You can just now move it around and put it where you need to. If you have this right here, then you hit add stop now, it will create it somewhere close to this. If I moved this over here, click that, add stop, puts it next to this previous one, put it over here, should appear next to this one. I think it would make more sense to have it come right after the latest one. That's how it was originally. I only just now realized that it was going to the previous one, but that really only requires a -1 or +1. You know, it's not going to be a lot of work to do. So that'll be done by the time this video is uploaded, as will the other thing that I was going to do, which I will find out probably by watching this video, because I don't remember what it is. But yeah, that's everything. So you have that, you have that, and now you have all those. And hopefully that gives you some kind of thing to do.